You look at the numbers last year. Keep in mind, this was a 23-year-old in his first year as a starter last season. 15 games, 3,100 essentially, 3,144 yards passing, 16 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, a 61.3 completion percentage, and an 87.2 passer rating. Now, that goes with 784 yards rushing, 10 rushing touchdowns, which is a ton. Yep. 5.6 yards per carry. He averaged about 52 yards per game on the ground, did Jalen Hurts. All right, with all of that said, Barrett, where does that need to be this year? What do we need to see from him? And then we're going to get into a comparison with him and the NFC quarterbacks. But where do those numbers approximately need to be for you? All right, some Eagles here. I found it curious, and there's always head games, there's always psychological angles here. But when Nick Sirianni came out before yesterday's practice and said, "Hey, look, I don't know what anybody's saying. Jalen Hurts had the best practice he's had all summer here. Yesterday, he was absolutely doing everything we asked him to do." Your estimation, how much of that was Nick continuing to pump his guy up, hearing a little bit of the noise on the outside? Because, by the way, it wasn't like people were saying, "Oh my God, Hurts was terrible." They weren't. Yeah. They were just like, it was an okay day. Tua probably outperformed him. And maybe some of that has to do, Barrett, with the fact that he's going against the guy who replaced him in college. Right, I don't know. Right. But how much of it do you think that it was psychological versus that's really what they saw him film?
It was some of that. It was a lot of it also. It was a little psychological. But, I mean, I get him when he said that everybody was saying he was just dinking and dunking. He was hitting the checkdowns. Well, if it was a day in which they were working on the blitz, and they're doing, stuff that, with a more aggressive defense, then that's what's going to happen. You can't change the game plan. If they are going out and that's what the defense is dictating, then you got to go with what's working. So people don't understand, every play is not going to be a huge play going down the field. Mm-hmm. When you're running the offense and they blitz, there are checks that they have to go through and passes they have to go through to make the offense work. See, it's not just the quarterback knowing to go where the ball is. The receivers have to know what routes they have to run as far as hot routes. What the offensive line has to know is who's hot and who's not. And that's what happened there. It was an aggressive period, a blitzing period for the most part, for probably a major part of the day.
Right.
And when you blitz, you got to throw into the blitz. So if somebody's blitzing off that right side, as soon as that linebacker disappears, the receiver has to see the linebacker disappears and run the hot route with it, whether it's a slant, a fade, a stop route, whatever it is. He has to make himself available to the quarterback, and the quarterback has to get to him. If he blitzes and the guy that, he's a free hitter, then maybe you do have to throw it out to Boston Scott or whoever that back is on that side, a Kenneth Gainwell or something. Mm-hmm. You got to get it to the tight end. If he runs a stop route, once he see that defender that he's accountable for disappears, he's got to turn around and make himself available. So it looks like they're just dinking and dunking or throwing checkdowns, but they're running their offense. And plus, you have to run the offense the way it's supposed to be run. Like if it's 322 Y stick nod, that means it's 322 is telling the protection. It's a 3-step drop. 22 is telling protection. 22 is scat protection, meaning they're hot. Whoever comes, the 5 down linemen block the 5 most dangerous guys. And then the Y stick nod is the tight end, and the stick nod route is the route that you're throwing it to. It's calling to throw to that route.
Right.
So you don't know what they're calling on the play. And that's why it might have looked like he was just having an average practice. But if you look at it from the offensive coordinator and the Nick Sirianni's eyes, it's like, all right, this guy he's doing exactly what he's being asked to do. He said something yesterday, and that was right on. He said, and when I said Hurts said, "I'm trusting what my eyes are seeing." Mm-hmm. He's trusting it. He said he saw some of this stuff before. He's seen these blitz and replayed them in his head. So it wasn't new to him. So he knew if he saw that safety coming down, he see the linebacker starting to go over him. He's seen that blitz before. So he can draw from experience and see what he's supposed to do. He might not have did it last year, but he did it this year. So that's the progression that we're talking about. We need to see from him in his maturation of being an NFL quarterback.
Yeah. And
so
look,
he sees that going, boom, throw it to the check down, or throw it to that hot route, or get the ball out your hands. You know, we get mad at him saying, all right, he just had an average practice, or not really get mad at him, but, you know, kind of depressed when we look at it, oh, he just had an average day. But in all actuality, he's doing what he's supposed to do because he's not playing hero ball. He might have kept that and tried to make a play instead of just throwing it away or getting the ball out of his hands.
Or throw a pick. Yeah,
exactly.
Or like all the stuff that we went nuts on Carson Wentz for. Holding the ball too long in the pocket, right?
Yes.
So you're either going to get yourself blown up by doing that. The ball's going to get stripped from you. Your bad things are going to happen if you do that.
Yes,
and we all said, dude, just throw it away. Live to see another day, or check it down. Live to see another day. The stuff we wanted Wentz to do, you also in a way knock Hurts because he did it. So it's an interesting dynamic and contrast. Obviously, you're not going to win in the league with little 5-yard checkdowns all game long, but in certain situations, that's the best football play to make.
Exactly.
And, and maybe that is a sign. He's getting it now. He's not just tucking it and taking off, or he could get killed outside of the pot, whatever. So, yeah, I find it interesting. And look, I do think there is a little part of this that Nick got wind of. Hey, everybody's praising Tua for how well he played. Of course. And we know, we know that, like, as much as Jalen Hurts is like this, he's tunnel vision, man. Like he's not hearing the noise outside. And I believe that there has got to be a little piece of him that it still stings a little bit when he thinks back to the way things played out at Alabama.
Absolutely. And
yeah.
it should.
And he's human. He's human.
Yeah, exactly. It should. You should be pissed off that you're, and I'm going to tell you the truth. And I've heard some people say it, and I've heard, some very important people say it. If that head coach, for Alabama,
Nick Saban,
if he had his druthers, he probably would have switched over to back to Hurts, because when you look at it, he didn't really have a good season, a great season going into that next year. So Tua played average at best,
and he got hurt. He got banged up.
Exactly, yeah. And he wanted to put Hurts in, but by that time it already snowballed, and he didn't want to backtrack and retract. The fact that he took him out, and and that's a part of what the league does. But
sure,
at least he knows that he came in before he left there and won a crucial game for him. You know what I'm saying? On his way out the door.
Yeah,
a crucial game for him.
I hear you. So that said, you look at the numbers last year. Keep in mind, this was a 23-year-old in his first year as a starter last season. 15 games, 3,100 essentially, 3,144 yards passing, 16 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, a 61.3 completion percentage, and an 87.2 passer rating. Now, that goes with 784 yards rushing, 10 rushing touchdowns, which is a ton. Yep. 5.6 yards per carry. He averaged about 52 yards per game on the ground, did Jalen Hurts. All right, with all of that said, Barrett, where does that need to be this year? What do we need to see from him? And then we're going to get into a comparison with him and the NFC quarterbacks. But where do those numbers approximately need to be for you? Like what do you need to see yardage? What do you need to see touchdown, interception, completion percentage, whatever number one that jumps out at you?
The number one that jumps out at me is the completion percentage.
Okay.
It was last year was 61.3%, just like you said.
Yep.
I needed right around 68, 70.
Okay, so that's a pretty healthy jump.
Bro, yeah. That's an amazing jump. In fact, that's right around the level of the big time quarterbacks in the league is 70%.
Okay.
You've got guys like Brady and those guys, they get a little bit higher than that. But other than everybody else, it's like if you get up in those numbers, you're in the upper echelon of quarterbacks.
You're a primetime quarterback.
Right. Yeah. So I'm saying if you get 68 to 69% completion rating, you're balling.
Okay.
I need, at least 900 more yards added to that 3,100
So get to that 4,000 mark.
Get around 4,000, pretty damn close to it.
All right.
I need around 24, 25, 26 touchdowns.
So maybe up as many as 10.
There's no question. I mean, he has to, if he wants to be the elite quarterback that wants to solidify his job there and put himself in a position where he's going to get the big money, he's got to have at the very least 25 touchdowns. So you're talking about nine more touchdowns in the air.
Okay. I mean, probably the interceptions go up a little bit at least, right?
I mean, at least, you know,
with the
one or
attempts.
two. So 11 to 12, right around where he needs to be.
Okay.
And that quarterback rating right around 96, 97.
So get that up about 10%.
Yeah, okay. Get that up to 10%. But also in saying all that, because my expectations of Jalen are higher, I still need him to have right around 700 yards rushing. Just because I know he can do it, and I know he can do it at a high clip.
And I'm okay if that goes down a little bit, Barrett. I'm
right.
You know, because I don't think he's going to be taking off as much. I don't.
Well, he shouldn't have to.
Yeah. So if that dips into the 600s, I don't care. That's no big deal to me.
Right.
But he is still going to be so effective. Think about the other thing. I don't know if we talk about this enough. How effective he can be in the red zone because of the dual threat that he is. Like that dude has a nose for it. When you get 10 rushing touchdowns as a quarterback, it's a lot. And now he's going to have better options in terms of being able to throw fades or a guy, you know, like
just throwing a slant.
Yeah, A.J. Brown on a slant or A.J. Brown boxing somebody out, whatever, on a 50-50 ball. Like, the Eagles should be a killer red zone team this year.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. Because you have to rush him differently also. Because you know he's such a threat in running the ball. You can't just rush him like you rush other quarterbacks. You can't, you know, just have, you know, those rush ends come around the corner and think you're going to converge on them.
Right.
If you do that, it's going to create lanes in their rushing lanes. And then that's when he breaks out and breaks your back with a long run or a run in which, you know, he does go out and score.
Mm-hmm.
So number one, as a defensive coordinator, you have nightmares playing against guys like this, especially when they start throwing the ball a little better than they did the previous year. I mean, I told you the biggest thing that comes with him being a better player is trust. Trust is the key word, man, that they need, bro. Trust. They should have T-shirts with trust because I think they trust each other. They trust the fact that he can throw to A.J. Brown, and he has that forgiving catch radius. He knows if he throws it anywhere in the vicinity of A.J., he's gonna come out with the ball. And that's huge, man, as a quarterback, knowing you have that confidence in the receiver. You can also trust that, you know, Smitty is going to be a guy that he can go out and also create separation at any time. He's going to be open. Relying on a guy like that, you know, just like, you know, Brady knowing where to go with the ball.
Sure.
He may not know where to go with the ball in pre-snap, but at least he trusts where he can throw the ball and get it to this guy and make it happen.
Absolutely. Look, I mean, he's got this is a team with weapons, man. This is a team with two legit outside receivers and a legit tight end and a legit running game and a legit offensive line. It's all there.
So listen to what you just said, Rob. You can run the ball and nobody can stop it.
Yep.
They've shown that.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have a quarterback that can break your back on 3rd and 10 with a run and scramble. So you can't rush them like you rush other quarterbacks. And, oh, by the way, you can't sit back in coverage because they can run the ball. But then you turn around and say, all right, then we want him to throw the ball. So we just put 8 in the box, and we're going to blitz him to stop the run. They have weapons on the outside and inside that create matchup nightmares. I mean, in order for you to bring somebody in the box and put an 8-man box in there, that means you have to leave guys one-on-one on the outside.
Right.
So would you trust one-on-one with A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith?
Yeah.
Would you trust that? Would you trust Quez being in the slot and being able to, you know, take the top off the defense? Do you trust a linebacker one-on-one against Dallas Goedert?
Right.
Can you trust those situations as a defensive coordinator? You'd be scared to death, man, to leave those guys like that, bro.
Let me ask you one more thing, too, while we're on this. You know, we always hear about the spy. You might have to spy him because of the way that he can run. How much does that open up things for, you know, in the passing game when you have another linebacker or whomever you want to use, a safety, just occupied with that, too?
Well, then you just worried about him. So you can't spy and drop back to coverage and think that you can, you know, go and make a play somewhere else. That means you're allocating resources to just stopping one man.
Mm-hmm.
See, the difference between playing other teams is that you're only defending 10 people on the field. Jalen makes it as though you have to defend all 11 people on the field. You know, you have to account for wherever he is. Usually just quarterback, you know, he's just going to pass the ball or hand it off. So you're not worried about his skill set. But you have to worry about quarterbacks like Allen, quarterbacks like Hurts.
Right.
Guys that can move around, have great functional mobility. You have to make sure you account for them in your number count. You don't have to account for Brady. You know, Brady, you know, you got 11 defenders to go out there and defend 10 guys. But you can't do that with Jalen Hurts.
Right.
A-Rod's the same thing.
Yep.
You got to make sure you account for him in the number count of guys you have to defend on each play.